Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, thanks for stopping by. No, not all toys are action figures, play sets, or vehicles. No, some are those classic toys that don't come with a slew of accessories or other figures and certainly don't have the tagline, collect them all. Before the big action figure boom, we were thrilled to get any of these amazing toys that found themselves as icons in our history and our heart. As big as any franchises to follow, these 70s toys you probably had, and if you didn't, you should have. So come with me, wax poetic, and let's see if any of your favorites made the list. I'm Victor, and straight out of the Gen Xperience, those super 70s toys that were at the top of their game. Classic toys that couldn't be beat. Memorable toys that have hung on until today. They don't get the attention they once had, but we'd give them all the attention they deserve if played with today, honoring the magic of the originals. Could it get any better than this, I ask you? Tiny translucent pegs, choking hazards really, that plug into a backlit board and illuminate images of whatever your heart desires, or phrases you want to stand out, or just use the patterns on the black paper provided with the original Lightbrite. This debuted in 1967, and I remember the pure joy I felt when opening this present, either on Christmas or my birthday. Almost the only time we ever got a new toy. I don't know if the thrill came from the very simple but fascinating purpose of the toy itself, or from the marketing I was barraged with on TV. Because let's face it, TV commercials just seemed designed for kids. Well, at least the good ones. Everything worth advertising for seemed directed at us, and I was there for it. They sold to us, so we could in turn sell it to our parents. And Lightbrite was no different. But what of it? Lightbrite was special and everyone knew it, and everybody wanted to get their hands on it. You may see a modern version in the background of my show during the opening. Yes, they do still make them today with a thinner profile, but they don't get a commercial nor the advertising dollars. But I consider mine an Easter egg to my youth, shining behind my head of every show. Inducted in the Toy Hall of Fame in 2022, how many of today's toys are going to get that kind of legacy? Please give a shout out in the comments if you remember color forms, and better yet, if you loved playing with them. Not articulated action figures or a playset with action features, but a simple and static background where you set the scene. You determine the action by sticking the titular color forms, thin vinyl cutouts, bright shapes, recognizable objects, and even familiar characters, to a smooth surface, and then easily remove or change it countless times by repositioning the removable clings. This was the creative outlet of artistic expression we didn't even know we needed. Like making your own comic book panel, color forms could be primitive or extensive depending on your price range. It might come with multiple backgrounds where any IP imaginable could be represented, and the replay value was high. Keeping all the pieces together and intact though, that was sometimes a problem. But you worked with what you had when you pulled these easy and effective fun makers out to play. The stick rarely failed. As long as there was a vacuum seal between the piece and the board, it seemed effortless. In the occasional instance you needed a better bond, just stick out your tongue. With very little thoughts of germs, you wiped that vinyl shape across your tongue and boom, the stick was back as you placed it strategically onto the shiny coated cardboard setting for a perfect alien world or of Snoopy's doghouse. There was a color form set for all imagination.
What a toy!
Get your mind out of the gutter, this has nothing to do with that. Shrinky dinks were invented in 1973 by two housewives. More of a craft, it's a very repeatable activity and gives off a total 70s homemade toy aesthetic that brought out the artist and hobbyist in many of us kids. Sheets of polystyrene are used to create your artistic vision before being cut with regular scissors and then heated. It's during the baking process these cut shapes become about 9 times thicker, while their horizontal and vertical dimensions reduce to about 1/3 the original size, resulting in a hard, flat form which retains the initial color and shape.
Witchcraft.
A toy that kept you busy with the wonders of science. During a time when such marvels amazed us, Shrinky Dinks were beyond explanation. We couldn't believe our eyes seeing something we made full size turn into a tchotchke in minutes. Imagine making a large piece of visual art, then shrinking them down to use as charms or a keychain, any sort of knick-knack. Knickknacks that we had no clue what to do with. But that didn't matter, they were just fun to make. These knickknacks today would be priceless, or more realistically, overpriced collectibles sold on Etsy. You can still find the original available online. So if you're looking for a little time machine fun on a Friday night, start by shrinking a dink. There is nothing more fun than a toy that could stretch and stretch and stretch. The blonde stocky wrestler was fun to be sure, but our main goal was to see just how far he'd go. By the look of this himbo, pretty far. Produced by Kenner in 1976, just before the release of Star Wars, Stretch enjoyed some serious success, even as 3 3/4-inch action figures were about to take over. Stretch was even more interesting when Stretch Monster came on the scene in 1978. Now you could finally pit this stout wrestler against an opponent, although I'm not sure why some out-of-this-world reptilian creature was chosen. Oh right, Star Wars. There were more than 60 different versions made internationally, like Stretch X-Ray with an exposed brain, Ollie and Olivia Octopus, which I had an Ollie, and Fetch, Stretch's dog. The gelled corn syrup inside allowed for the Stretch to hold just for moments before returning to regular size. Although the directions state that an adhesive bandage can be used for tears, I just recommend you get a new Stretch. I'm not sure you want his pus oozing all over the place, or being licked up by the dog, no matter how non-toxic they say he is. This one proved to everyone that with one hot-ass light bulb, anyone could bake. So why don't we all have Easy Bake ovens in our kitchen instead of overpriced stoves that do way more than necessary and only last for half as long? The world may never know. I have seen YouTube videos of Easy Bake ovens still working, still cooking, and still burning hot. Don't touch the bulb. Cakes, cookies, and even pizza, the Easy Bake oven was a dream of every girl? Well, probably a lot of boys too. It was for cooking food and eating it, and that's not reserved for just one sex, but at the time, Easy Bake was for girls, and the creepy crawler thing maker was for boys. But boys love to cook, and we also love to eat. But we couldn't eat the plastic bugs made in the thing maker. There was limited success by licensing Pizza Hut for a version of the Easy Bake oven, but in 2002, Hasbro released the Queasy Bake Cookery. It's the same as the Easy Bake oven, but to make sure that there was a difference, it was covered in skulls and looks of slime. Today, all we need is an Easy Bake oven. It's still out there and perfect for those singles or the bachelor crowd. For those of us trying to level up a party with friends, making nibbles in the Easy Bake with some wine might just be the answer. Wonder how well it would do with baked chicken. This was action. This was competition. This was letting it all out in the ring. Rock'em Sock'em robots were the hungry hippos of our adolescence. We weren't trying to get the little food pellets rolling around, but trying to knock our opponent's block off.
Knock my block off.
And once you did, there was nothing more satisfying. With the way things are going today, we should all have one of these on our desks at home or at the office. It may no longer have the memorable marketing, but it's out there, and these battle bots are perfect when you just have to release some of that pent-up energy. Better yet, solve differences between colleagues with 3 rounds of Rock'em Sock'em. It doesn't draw the kids to the toy stores like it had decades ago, so you won't find this on any kid's wish list like you did in the 70s. But the game does require 2 players, and that can be challenging for today's youth as they never seem to hang out with a friend. In real life, that is. But that's okay. Put it in front of any of us, and we'll show them how it's done.
This Christmas, it's Rock'em Sock'em Robots by Mark.
With all the digital tablets complete with varied bells and whistles for every age, the Etcha Sketch would seem completely obsolete today. But the simplicity of design, as well as the ease at which you can just grab it and immediately start fooling around and doodling with this legacy toy, makes it such a success that it stood the test of time. There's no on switch, no booting up, power-ups, or uploads. Just grab your knob and give it a twist. The Etcha Sketch has been around a long time, but it was a hot ticket during our youth, and everybody had one. The familiar red hard plastic case with 2 dials, one for horizontal and one for vertical. Come to think of it, that is pretty limiting. There were other devices produced to allow for more options in drawing, like the Skadoodle, which I had. Anybody else? Today, the Magnadoodle might provide greater drawing freedom, but I've got the OG, albeit a miniature version, on my desk at work. In a sea of similar products, the Etcha Sketch still lives for $25, but those magic beans inside, erasing our works of art, still perplex us for free. I don't know about you, but this gave me endless fun. And when I say endless, I mean for like just under an hour. But that's a pretty good amount of time before moving on to something else. That said, the spirograph was still something I could always pull out and give it a whirl, literally. More fun with friends or siblings along for the ride. Taking turns making your very own work of mechanical art could have inspired us young people to become draftsmen. But probably not. I remember playing with it, but I don't remember owning one. So, like many toys that we played with in the Gen Xperience, it could have been our best friends we remember playing with, or our cousins, or maybe it was our older siblings. Whoever it belonged to, it was amazing. Customizable designs, different sizes, various colors. It was a trip, a high, without the hit. If this was tossed in front of you today, I have no doubt you would all start spiraling out of control, but in a good way. Young fashion designers got their inspiration with this creative tool that allowed them to mix and match options when imagining their dream wardrobe. The 1978 fashion plates was an ingenious way to create one-of-a-kind fashions with versatile tops and bottoms, and even middles made of hard plates with raised line art on them. After securing paper over your chosen design, you proceeded to rub one out. A rubbing of a stylish fashion, of course. Using a pencil over the relief, you're left with a complete look of your fashion creation on paper, just like the finest designers with their initial sketches. From there, it was up to you to color it. Coloring and adding texture made it your own and increased the playability and endless possibilities. Although endless might be stretching it. The box might have said millions of combinations, but there were only so many plates, only so many times you could exercise this fantasy. So I guess it was just your added final color that made the countless options. The fashion plates were very original, like so many 70s toys. Hard to imagine kids getting this to play with today, as there are just so many more technological digital ways to do the same thing. Sure, it can be done virtually, but you just can't beat the tactile feeling when doing it for real. Yes, you can find fashion plates today, aimed at an even younger crowd than originally were. They no longer come with advertising, just mass-produced and available online. Toy marketing to kids is at a minimal since the end of the 20th century, and that's too bad. Those commercials were the soundtrack of my life. What about yours?
Hey, what are those things anyway? They're Nerf balls.
It's Nerf or nothing. This baby will never go out of style and never be off the shelf. Whether the original, the various other sports balls that followed, or the firing blaster with Nerf ammunition that debuted in '92, Nerf is a steady winner when it comes to longevity. The first Nerf ball was marketed as the world's first official indoor ball. Not at all catchy, but it worked. We needed this toy because, as you know,
Mom's favorite vase.
She always says, don't play ball in the house.
at first Nerf was there for you when going outside wasn't, and the original was followed up with a handful of other sports equipment that weren't made for indoor play. Even if they were made for outdoors, a Nerf football could never do this.
Dinner's ready. Oh, my nose!
As early as 1970, I bet you can't remember how many Nerf products you've had over the years. Now, if you're anything like me, Dig Dug is more your speed when it comes to video games. Okay, maybe Spy Hunter. Video games have gone leaps and bounds since their inception, and they've done it fast, like so many things, too fast. But at the same time, they are at least a constant. Today's video games may be nothing like the handheld electronic sports games that kept us occupied for hours playing football, basketball, or even hockey. Oh, I've tried my hand at newer, more modern games over the decades, and I find that having to stop and reload, access a menu to pick a weapon, or somehow heal myself while evading the living dead or an iconic space alien is anxiety I don't need. Give me a simple little red dot or a dash darting over a small screen accompanied by early electronic beeps and boops while I thumb my way through a classic play down the field, all to the sound of synthomagnetic music. Electronic games like this are definitely not available anymore. They have been obviously and rightfully replaced by higher tech with advanced in-play options, as well as countless play features and outcomes. I won't begrudge anyone with these distractions, but for me, a simple 9-volt battery-powered handheld game is something I can handle without causing any imagined stress. Hell, I'd even take one of those air-pumpy water-filled aquarium ring toss type games over today's video sensory overload. With that, it's time to go outside, not because we have to, but because we want to. Adding to the excitement and relief of the burning sun, running through the sprinklers was certainly a fun and anticipated distraction. It was made even better when you hooked up your willy water bug that sprayed water every which way from soft plastic tentacles coming out of its head. But that could also bring with it a stinging welt from the surprise slap you got on the thigh from one of those wild wavy water whipping tendrils powered by pressure. Now if you had enough of that though, just get a running start before throwing yourself face first onto the ground, then careening on your chest over the bright yellow runway until you come to a stop by skidding through the grass at the end, into a mud puddle you've created, or just crashing into a fence that's in your way of your forward motion. Slip and slide never got old, but it could be dangerous. But danger? That was our middle name back in the Gen Xperience. Escaping the heat of the relentless sun, an exhilarating pass on the plastic strip was fast-paced action for summer fun. The burns and cuts that came with it were just evidence that you had a great time. Our genuine and carefree laughter always surpassed the scrapes or the bruises. It kind of sums up our childhood, doesn't it? Other than scrapes and bruises, we had the trauma of Jaws. Now, even if we hadn't seen the movie, we knew all about it. But that didn't stop us from playing with this fun toy and all the anxiety that came with it. Okay, this is more of a board game than a toy because there was a method to the madness as you carefully fished out debris and objects from the massive maw of the great white, who now had a very obvious underbite. With the surprise snap, this was still one of my favorite toys. These were all awesome toys, the standards of the 70s. They were brands, but they weren't what we consider franchises. Not like those toy lines and action figures waiting just over the horizon at the dawn of the 80s. These kept us engaged, entertained, and inspired. The Gen Xperience was an experience like no other, and if you liked it, then click the like button. If you played with any of these, let us all know in the comments your favorite, and then show me some love by pressing subscribe. What a time to be alive, and the greatest time to be a kid. Until next time.